The mission of WebWise Kids is to empower today's youth to make wise choices online. And we believe that wisdom begins with you. We need to equip them to be their own first line of defense. And so we've decided to use their own medium, which is computer games, to reach them with this really important safety message. We use interactive CD-ROM computer games. These innovative games that were created by Livewire's design are based on real-life experiences. And as the kids play them, they can see a simulation of what happens to them online without experiencing the devastating real-life effects. Missing is a game for 11 to 14-year-olds, middle school students. And it's based on a true story. And it's about a character named Zach. And he gets involved in an online friendship, which actually ends up luring him away from home and into a life of crime.
You always hear about online predators and stuff, and like, it just helps you like, you get it because you're like playing it, you're like the cop and stuff. It's really cool.
You're trying to search and find him, you're part of the case. Instead of someone telling you, you get to actually see and be able to feel what's happening to this person.
I've used this game in San Francisco with over 2,000 students. It's the only thing I would use. Instead of me going in and lecturing these kids, even though I have the stories of all the people that I arrested, the kids love the stories, but there's no better way of telling kids how a predator works than actually seeing a real live story.
At the end of the game, the child writes their own internet safety plan and takes it back for the approval of their parents. And we found that if the child creates their own plan, they're much more likely to keep to that plan rather than if someone imposes it upon them.
On the internet, I'm a lot safer. Like, I don't give out personal information or anything, and I don't really go into chat rooms anymore. Kind of just stay out of those.
I learned that you can never be too careful, and you always have to be ready just in case something happens, and never talk to any people that you don't know because you don't know what they're gonna do.
When people like talk to me and I don't know them and I ask them who they are and they say like, oh, don't you remember me and like stuff like that, I just like block them and don't talk to them because I know that this could happen and I would never want that to happen to me.
Cybercops, the new series, is for a little older children and the things that they encounter online. And it encourages teenagers to maintain a higher level of personal responsibility online. The games are created with educators in mind, and the new Cybercops series is created to be downloaded on a server and can be played in one classroom period.
What I love about the games is they address new topics: bullying, piracy, online romance.
They tie in so well to state standards, and the messages are empowering, and they're the kinds of messages that would be very difficult to have kids take in if you were lecturing to them or asking them to read about it. Because they're working with peers and they're interacting with the programs, the learning is retained. It's really good then because you can get rich, meaningful discussions after the games are played. And fortunately with WebWise Kids programs, there are guides to help parents and to help teachers to get started with those discussions and to keep those kinds of discussions going.
AirDogs is a game that teaches kids about the consequences of crimes online, such as online fraud, software piracy, bullying, and extortion. And it shows them that there are often lifelong consequences to these kinds of activities, both legally and socially, for them and for their families. Mirror Image is a game which addresses the issues of online stalking, online romance, and modeling scams and computer viruses.
And kids, for example, will often say things like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." And that was fun to hear, but what I wanted to do as an educator is say to the kids, "But what have you learned?" And so I'd ask them lots of questions after they had finished playing the games. And they would come back with just the comments that you hoped they would. So this method of learning really does work.
You go into the classroom, you play a game with the kids. The kids love you. It will make your job so much easier. All you have to do is learn the game, you walk around the classroom, and it makes your job so easy. The classroom just lights up when you start the game, and all they do is ask you questions.
Another unique aspect of our approach to the internet safety issue is that we believe in a community shield approach. That's why we work with law enforcement, educators, after-school groups, and parents, because we believe that everyone needs to become involved in keeping our kids safe online.
We work with law enforcement agencies, teachers, and youth leaders across the country, and we've reached millions of children. We have two goals. One is to teach adults and children about child abduction, child victimization, and other online dangers that are on the internet. The second goal is to really be able to help children be able to play our games, be able to learn what is out there.
Today's culture bombards families with issues in the field of technology that they're not prepared for. More often than not, the kids are actually more tech-savvy than they are. And so, what do? Well, we have designed a program called Wired with Wisdom. It's a one-of-a-kind program that parents really love because it's short, 20-minute modules, and it's prepared in a way that parents of every kind of learning style can actually use. There are a number of topics that we address: chat rooms, email, piracy, viruses and worms, and the most important thing is just how they can protect not only their children, but themselves.
When I was 15, I met a man on the internet. His name was John. He was 22. I was convinced that I was in love with John and that John loved me and we were gonna, get married and all this stuff. Both my parents, they didn't know how to get through to me, how to make me understand that I was in trouble. And they said to the police officer, and they're like, well, what do we do? How do we talk to her?
I was very concerned, but I also knew that it would be a major rift between Katie and myself if I were to say, no, this fellow can't come out.
I expressed to him I did not feel it was safe. I believed that he fit all the signs of a predator.
And that's when Officer Mercer pulled out the missing game and said, go home and play this game with your daughter. We didn't have to preach to her. We just sat back and let her play the game. And as she played the game, she began to see these things aren't as innocent as it looks. And so at the end of the game, she was very, very receptive to us coming and then giving that same message of, I love you, we think this is dangerous, we really think you shouldn't do this.
The game of missing just brings you one step closer to your children. One step closer, that's all you have to be.
WebWise Kids programs can actually prevent a child from becoming a victim.
WebWise Kids has chosen a positive, preventative approach to this issue, and we've reached millions of children across the United States. It's stories like Katie's that make what we do important, because we want to prevent these children from having the lifelong effects of an encounter with an internet predator.
I think you need to always assume that there's a threat out there on the internet. I think a lot of people wait till they see warning signs to intervene. I think you need to be proactive. I think the work that WebWise does is really important because it's really getting to kids before they get at risk.
Using extensive experience and the latest technology, WebWise Kids has built a solid reputation for providing adults and young people with the knowledge they need to safely enjoy the benefits of the internet. We will continue to strive to provide educational answers for the potential dangers to our youth with the new frontier in modern communications.